We treat language as a descriptive tool, a mirror for an existing universe. In Kashmir Saivism, the Sanskrit phonemes are the literal engine of creation. Abhinavagupta systematized this cosmogony through the Varna Samamnya, the traditional Sanskrit vowel and consonant matrix. This structural evolution is driven by phonetic awareness. As Siva becomes aware of 50 distinct aspects of his energy, he generates the 50 phonemes of the Sanskrit alphabet. This rigorous grammatical framework maps how a changeless, non-dual absolute generates a fractured, dynamic universe, while maintaining its own internal unity. The first phase of this construction is contained within the first 16 phonemes, the vowels. Paninian grammar defines these as swara. They are self-luminous and independent, requiring no external contact to be sounded. Vowels function as bija, or seeds. They stand in contrast to consonants, which require striking or physical articulation and act as the wombs of objective reality. Because vowels are self-existent, they map the pre-objective, internal descent of the Absolute entirely within the mind of Shiva. Decoding the sequence of the vowels reveals the internal psychology of the Absolute before physical matter is permitted to exist. Creation begins with the short Sanskrit vowel a. This is Anuttara, the Absolute. It represents pure, waveless consciousness that holds the entire universe in an unmanifested seed form. When the Absolute reflexively perceives its own existence, it generates a moment of unitive friction called samgata. At this exact phonetic intersection, the short a effectively combines with itself. This grammatical addition produces the long Sanskrit vowel a. This phoneme signifies ananda, or bliss, the state of consciousness resting entirely within its own self-recognition. This self-reflexive split creates internal multiplicity and movement, while the Absolute remains strictly non-dual. From this state of bliss, consciousness moves toward active emanative intent. This primal intent is icha, or will, mapped directly to the short vowel e. When this will directs itself toward an object, it undergoes an ontological disturbance, or kshobita. This lengthens the sound into the long vowel e, representing sovereignty over the creation. This directed will evolves into the capacity for ideal cognition. Known as jnana sakti, this power is mapped to the short vowel u, unmesa, or the unfoldment of the ideal cosmos. As this ideal universe takes shape, pure consciousness experiences a contraction known as unnata. Grammatically, this produces the long vowel u. The progression from e to u requires the universe to exist as an ideal mental representation before it can manifest as physical matter. The phonetic sequence then reaches a sudden plateau, the appearance of the liquid phonemes r, l. Traditional grammarians view these liquids as sterile, neutral phonemes, incapable of further development. Abhinavagupta defines these specific liquids as sandha, the sterile or ambrosiacal phonemes. They represent a metaphysical void state, or shunya, where the creative process intentionally halts. During this pause, the powers of will and cognition sink back into themselves, sustaining a stable, luminous consciousness rather than externalizing. This phonetic pause regulates the ontological flow, allowing the Absolute to rest before initiating the final stages of creation. The kinetic process reignites through internal santa, the rules of phonetic fusion. This involves the specific conjunction of the Absolute, a, and the power of will, e. Their union produces the diphthong, a. The emergence of a signifies the birth of Kriya Sakti, the power of action. In the Devanagari script, the letter e takes a specific structural form. It is the trikona, or downward-pointing triangle. This triangle acts as the generative womb, or yoni, synthesizing the triad of will, cognition, and action. Continuous additive combinations then generate the remaining diphthongs, a, which forms a hexagram, followed by o and au. The derivation of the diphthongs organizes pure abstract energy into the actionable, geometric frameworks required for physical emission. The sequence culminates in the 14th phoneme, au. Known as the Trisula bija, or trident seed, this sound represents will, cognition, and action, locked in a state of intense balance. This internal evolution focuses into a single, infinitely dense point of sound energy, the bindu. Finally, this point splits into the visarga, the emission. It is the projection of this internal architecture outward into the physical reality of the consonants. Because the blueprint of reality is finalized within the vowels of Siva's mind, the gross physical universe is fundamentally a manifestation of phonetic logic. This macrocosmic descent is mirrored within human speech and consciousness. This phonetic mapping provides the specific mechanics for tantric practice. It is the foundation of Sabhava Upaya, the path of Shambhu, a method of spiritual liberation based on linguistic regression. The practitioner meditates backward, tracing the physical consonants of human speech up through the subtle phonetic layers of the vowels. By mastering the exact syntax of creation, the practitioner reverse engineers reality, systematically unspeaking the dualistic universe to return to the unconditioned absolute.